Fire, 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 fire. Okay, everybody's been pounding about this. Good fucking lord. Oh my goodness. It's been quite a disaster, from what I understand. And it's sad, because Christopher Nolan's supposed to be like a really good director. The Odyssey backlash has gotten so much worse! Uh-oh. Alright, let's see it.
Which argues that classical Greek culture is heavily indebted to Afro-Asiatic and Near Eastern roots. I actually taught Greek mythology to 8th graders. And so I covered this. So people that are saying that Helen of Troy could not possibly be played by a black woman don't know history.
Everything I want to say about these people is hate speech.
Huh?
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Well, children of the Hell Gondola, another day, another boatload of drama here on the internet. Did you see what I did there? I am very clever. Please clap.
Ha 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 ha. I laughed so hard. It's a boat pun.
If you have been following along so far, you likely will have seen the huge uproar over the upcoming Christopher Nolan Odyssey film slated to hit theaters in July 2026. I did cover this in a bit of detail in my last video about the topic. I'll link that in the description. But as a quick refresher, people are kicking off due to a series of race swaps and sort of, I don't know, I guess like one gender swap in the film. These include Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in all of Greece, who will now be played by Lupita. I'm gonna butcher this again, but I am trying. Nyong'o. Lupita will also play Helen's sister, and no, these two women are not twins, and I have no idea why they made this decision. Rapper
That's
Travis
strange.
Scott will play a bard from Ithaca. Athena will be played by Zendaya.
Dude, when I see Zendaya, I just think of the character of the drug addict. Cause Euphoria is so popular.
And trans-identified Elliot Page will play Achilles, Elpenor, or Hermes. We're not sure which
one
but
of
a lot
them?
of people think it's Elpenor. Just a little bit of
Twitter was blowing the fuck up about a trans person potentially playing Achilles. Even though it's been pretty much debunked and probably not gonna happen. But there are lots of schizos defending it and saying, please do this because it makes the chuds mad. Here's my take. If you watched me at all in the past, you probably have heard me say like numerous times, like, does this help your cause? When it comes to a trans person playing the strongest Greek warrior in all of history or fictional history, whatever the fuck, I ask the same question. Does this bring your movement legitimacy and normalcy? Do you think the average person that sees a female to male trans person playing the role of the strongest Greek warrior will either go like, wow, that's so inclusive and cool, I think I'm gonna accept more trans people now into my life and into my everyday conversation? Or do you think it would make them go like, wow, that's really performative and doesn't make much sense? Like, I feel like they're gonna say shit like, I feel like this is gonna be forced down my throat. Like, personally, my money is on the latter. And as per usual, the psychotic, like, activists on Twitter are doing far more damage to their movement than anyone else by vehemently defending and asking for this shit. It's the exact same story with race swaps, which they also announced in this movie too. And I imagine Sydney will get to that. Like, you cannot say race swaps from white to black are okay, but black to white isn't okay. Like, you can't piss in people's mouth and tell them it's raining. You just can't do that. And the biggest problem is that Hollywood lost the trust of like the general public, the majority of people. They've ruined countless franchises by shoving this retarded woke bullshit in them. People are sick of it. The average Joe Schmo is starting to be like, damn, what the fuck? So every time they do this, every time you have another white to black race swap or a trans person cast in a role that doesn't make sense, or a Netflix race swap, like they do the race swap with a black murderer to white, or a traditionally masculine game, or a franchise change, it's led to the lead role to be a woman, it's gonna fucking be worse. It's gonna get worse. The backlash will grow. People are gonna get more pissed off, and then the cycle will continue. This isn't rocket science. I don't know why they keep doing this and being like, oh my god, the fucking chuds. There's no proof that pages can't. If you listen to what I said, it's still weird. It's still weird.
Gender bending in there as well. So fun. During the initial firestorm, Elon Musk weighed in, criticizing the race swapping, and suggested that the only reason Christopher Nolan made these casting choices is because he wants awards. Which I think might actually be the case. Apparently, in order to get an Oscar, to win an Oscar, one must meet a bunch of representation.
That's unironically insane. There's a quota
and inclusion standards,
what?
Including but not limited to hiring non-whites, women, LGBT people, and including these people somehow, somewhere in your film.
Wait. Go back a little bit. 30% of the film's crew is from at least 2 underrepresented groups. You're not hiring the people best suited for the job. You're just hiring them because they're a woman, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ, people with cognitive. What? Why does that matter? Just be good at your job. What the fuck?
How somewhere in your film, including acting in it.
No white men allowed, white men. Go to your room!
Elon's response, of course, because these people are nothing if not predictable, brought a bunch of progressives out of the woodwork to try to fight him. Alec Baldwin, yes, the same Alec Baldwin who shot and killed someone and
that was awful.
The case dismissed, posted an image of Lupita on Instagram and captioned it, "Dear Elon, she is the most beautiful woman in the world."
I mean, this is, of course, subjective, but
yeah.
I am leaning towards the entirety of Sweden myself. Why are you all so pretty?
Elon's comments even resulted in this particularly fun article from Variety headlined, "The Odyssey, Why Elon Musk and His Troll Army Attacks..."
Oh, it's the chuds, yes. Here
silly,
we go, it's the
inaccurate.
chuds.
I mean, I think the guy just wants Greeks represented in their own mythologies, which is ironically something that all of you nerds would agree with if it was any other civilization or story or culture other than a European one. But
like, it has been okay in Hollywood for years now to race swap and shit on stories and movies from culturally or ethnically white European places. But the reverse is absolutely never okay. Like, can you imagine if they race swapped the lead role in like Black Panther? That would never fly, and in my opinion, as it shouldn't. Like, yes, Black Panther in Wakanda is fictional, but it's based off of black culture. They researched, like, African tribes to make Wakanda more immersive. Ryan Gosling for Black Panther. It'd be weird. It would be throwing me off. But then, by that logic, I think the characters in that movie should be black. That just makes sense. Likewise, I think characters in movies from white places or history, like Greek mythology in this instance, should be freaking white. Probably. I think that's fair. I think that's common sense. I think it's an insult to Greek people to race swap them out of their own freaking stories. Like, is that crazy for me to think? Does that make me a racist asshole? Like, what the fuck?
Would listen to me. What do I know? This article hilariously goes on to write, "From the team that brought you Why is Snow White Latina? Why are there black people in the Rings of Power? And Star Wars Has Gone Woke comes the latest online onslaught against the anticipated Hollywood project that committed the unfathomable, this is hard to say, unfathomable sin of having a diverse cast." Well, we do know how each one of those shows and films turned out.
Yeah, they turned out great.
I think
the orcs are misunderstood. They have babies, and they rewrite the lore of the orcs in Rings of Power.
Disney's Snow White
Of
broke
course.
Rachel Zegler to the extent that she's doing weird things on red carpets these days.
She's fine, guys.
The crux of this article
These Hollywood people, man.
is a bunch of nonsense, but they also make the argument that the 2004 Troy film wasn't accurate, no one cared about that, and all of this is mythology anyway, so why do you care at all?
Because it's Greek mythology, not African mythology. It's not Asian mythology or South American mythology. It's Greek mythology. The actors at the bare minimum should be white, if not completely Greek. Like, the actors in Black should be black. Like, why is that so hard to grasp? I'll tell you why. It's because the retards arguing against this are intentionally dishonest scum that hate white people, and their only goal is to gaslight you until you do what they want. Like, never listen to them. Never give them an inch. They'll take a mile, bro.
Stellar work, as always, Variety. Now, because people like you and me don't appreciate the attempt at revising Greek mythology to meet the cultural and social expectations of 2026 America, apparently that makes us a bunch of naughty, naughty racists. And now, progressives have started to enter the conversation to tell us why we are wrong, why our outrage is silly.
Of course. The women that do the podcast or whatever the fuck, the show every morning, let's say fucking absolutely retarded shit and get called out for it every day. We're gonna listen to those people.
We are apparently not. Importantly, they are now bending over backwards to tell us why Greeks could have in fact been black.
Mom slop? No, that's an insult to moms. I think this is retard slop.
I am both too old and too young for this. On a recent episode from May 14, 2026, the women of the show The View had a lot to say about the upcoming Odyssey film. Host Sunny Hostin, again, I'm so bad with names, sorry if that's not right, made some comments that went especially viral on Twitter. Yes, this is the same Sunny Hostin who found out her ancestors were in fact slave owners.
Wow.
Let me guess, they made her repent for that shit. Not that I want her to do that. I'm just saying, I bet you that she was like, I'm so sorry. My great-great-grandpa.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I was born this way.
Whip yourself in shame, Sonny. You are the thing that you so abhor.
Well, that's what happens. You become so audience captured when they find out the not that I think like it's a crime for her to have ancestry that had slave owners. It's just that that's what you're beholden to.
Oh, I wonder if
it's
Sunny would be
cringe.
less of a monumental hypocrite if she was getting enough sleep. Because lots of sleep makes you an objectively nicer person. And
The
a
Hassan
lot
laugh,
of people,
yeah.
including you guys, are not getting good sleep. But what if you could? What if there was a way that you could? And there is, thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Beam. You could all probably say at this stage that I am the nighttime sleep fairy, and I guess I am, because I am known among my friends and family and loved ones for forcing them to try and use Dream Sleep
Beam.
Hot Chocolate. Because I love this stuff. I know it works, and I know it is good, and I am willing to share that information. As I have also said before, when I don't feel like making myself a yummy drink, which isn't often, I do opt for Dream Sleep capsules, and I have been using these a
Capsule
lot lately
in your
actually because I've been
bum,
going to
chat.
sleep really late. But as far as sleep products go, or
You should
even
collab
hot
with
chocolate,
Miko.
it's
Yeah.
really, really uncommon to find a brand that actually
Hot
delivers
chocolate,
on all of its
melatonin.
promises on day one. But Dream has been that for me since the start. I also freaking love the way it tastes, so that's a really good added bonus. I typically whip up my Dream drink anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour before bed, and I find that I calmly and nicely get sleepier and sleepier until I'm eventually unconscious. The biggest
Nice.
selling point for me
That's
is by
huge.
far the lack of grogginess
Sleep
that I have in the
suppository,
morning,
yeah.
which is very, very important to me. I
I hate that shit when you take melatonin and then you just can't wake up. It's so bad.
not like the feeling of not being able to start my
It
day
sucks.
because my brain is sluggish
done that
and
before.
partially asleep. Because I genuinely harp on this stuff so much for anybody in my life who complains about sleep, I really have converted so many of my loved ones to drinking dream before they go to bed. And when someone wants to try it, I take my own little bag and then divvy it up into other tiny baby baggies like some kind of nighttime drug dealer. And you know, as a nighttime drug dealer, this is a very easy sell because Dream has excellent ingredients like reishi and L-theanine and magnesium
Reishi.
and melatonin. Although
What the
there
hell
are
is
melatonin-free
reishi?
options for
Reishi,
anyone who's
Reese's
sensitive to
Pieces?
it. So as you all know, because I've just told you, Dream has been an absolute game changer for me, and it can be a massive game changer for you. Today, you get early access to Beam's Memorial Day sale and be the first to shop up to 40% off using my exclusive link, which you can click in the description box or go to
Wow.
shopbeam.com/SydneyW. Once again, that's shopbeam.com/SydneyW
Shop
for
these
up
nuts.
to 40% off using my link. In this video, Sunny said that Greek culture took a lot of cues from Egypt and North Africa, and that anyone who knows history knows that Helen of Troy could have in fact been black.
That is not even fucking close to true. Helen of Troy is literally described as a fair-haired and white-armed by Homer, who wrote the Odyssey, the thing that you're basing it off of. She's also directly quoted as being Achaean or Achaean. I can't pronounce that word. Like, which is ethnically Greek. Like, again, they want to gaslight you until you do what they want. They clearly and obviously hate the idea of white people. And it's completely okay to, like, race swap and bastardize your culture and your stories as long as your culture's white. Like, everyone can see this. And the simple truth is that either all of it is okay or none of it is okay. Like, we're either race swapping everyone from every culture in any story, or we're staying true to every culture and race swapping nobody. It's that simple. Pick one. You can't have your cake and eat it too, motherfucker.
You know, I think, racism rears its ugly head often on, and more often now than ever, I think, in our country. But if you are a student of history, you know that scholars have debated for decades the extent to which Greek mythology and civilization were influenced
I don't even want to. I just be repeating myself.
by ancient Egypt and North Africa. It is very clear that Andromeda is described as an Ethiopian princess. We have Othello, the Moor. The Greeks, this idea was also explored in a book called Black Athena. I think people should read it, which argues that classical Greek culture is heavily indebted to Afro-Asiatic and Near Eastern roots. I actually taught Greek mythology to 8th graders. And so I covered this. So people that are saying that Helen of Troy could not possibly be played by a black woman don't know history.
What the
I am so tired of
I'm
these
black,
people.
I'm so
Also,
tired.
who
I'm
is
sorry,
letting this
man.
woman teach children? Am I just now learning
That's
that
crazy.
teachers are telling 14-year-old students that Greeks were actually black? Is this better or worse than teaching kids that gender is fluid? I don't even know anymore. There is obviously so much to unpack about this statement, but we will start with the most obvious point that I will reiterate again, which is that anybody who actually knows history understands that Helen
There are probably so many YouTube frogs and Twitch cheesers that know this even better than I do. Like, I read Greek mythology because my dad really wanted me to read it when I was a kid, and he would read it before bed to me, like, out loud, and then I learned how to read. I'm sure you guys can, someone out there knows well more than I do, and this is so fucking stupid.
of Troy isn't black. Wasn't black. Because we don't rely on aggressively leftist sources like Black Athena or
Black
the Emily
Athena.
Wilson translation of the Odyssey to build out our opinions, Sonny. I did list a bunch
Christopher Nolan chose 2017 translation of Odyssey. One of the words chosen of what agenda is strong emphasis on the women in the Greek poem. Emily chose the ladies in blue for her cover. And Minoan fresco that has nothing to do with Odyssey. Yes, of course. Of course.
Opinions, Sonny. I did list a bunch of reasons in my last video about this relating to why Helen of Troy isn't black, but one of the ones that I did leave out is that Homer and other people who were, you know, writing during that period of time distinguished between the Greeks and everybody else. And he
they literally wrote it down
in his writing as burnt faces. So there's that. This is sort of like the J.K. Rowling argument that people love to make, where they say that Hermione could have been black and that she can be portrayed as black because her race in the books was never expressly stated. But when someone was actually black, or Indian, or Chinese, J.K. Rowling...
What was the Asian girl that Harry Potter kissed? What was her name? Cho Chang. Man, even when I was a kid, I was like, man, that is kind of crazy that she named him that. Like,
correctly said this or gave them a name like Cho Chang. I guess she effectively called them burned faces too. Homer naturally describes the people in his writing, the gods, the demigods, heroes, as the Greeks around him. Just like if you had a, I don't know, say a Nigerian author writing about a great warrior, you would reasonably assume that he means someone who looks like him, because people typically write what surrounds them.
Yes,
and this has not changed in 2,000 years. We also have statues and pottery and all sorts of other artifacts.
No, guys.
Tell us how the Greeks...
Hold on. No, guys. Clearly. Like, open your fucking eyeballs.
Statues and pottery and all sorts of other artifacts that tell us
it's
how
fake.
the Greeks
you're right. They made it up.
Mythologies. And as for this Black Athena book that Sonny references, it seems to be one of the worst pieces of literature ever published. And that is really saying something, because we have books like White Fragility out in the world. The author stated in no uncertain terms that the political purpose of Black Athena...
I don't think books like that shouldn't be written, but we should be allowed to make fun of them and call them stupid, because that's how we create discourse and discussions, rather than being like, no, this is actually needs to be removed from book reading and everybody has to stop reading this shit.
Is, of course, to lessen European cultural arrogance. Oh, we have some anti-white
what?
agenda happening here too, and it's being quoted on national television by the dumbest women alive. We love that. I do not want you guys to glaze over and get bored listening to this, so I'm not going to get too in the weeds, but I do think that it is important to note that the writer of Black Athena argued that Greek culture owed a debt to Africa and the Middle East for its impact on Greek civilization.
So we're gonna change history in the future because we feel like it? Because we feel like it's they have to be indebted? Huh?
And that
what is this logic?
And mythic components of Hellenistic culture came from African and Asiatic introductions. So I did reach out to a couple other people who are way smarter than me when it comes to history and sort of the region, the general region of the Mediterranean, like Metatron, for example, who is a friend of the channel. Some of you are probably familiar
I bet some of my
with his
viewers
videos,
watch him.
But I also reached out to someone I've referenced in my last video who is known on Twitter as Homer Pavlos. He is an actual Greek person who actually speaks Greek, and so I wanted to confirm some of the bits and bobs relating to the culture that he has grown up in, and he had this to say to me. The opinion that there were blacks in Greece is completely false and propaganda. Greek cities were closed societies. There were no barbarians inside, no non-Greeks. Even the slaves in Athens were living outside Athens, and there were no sub-Saharan blacks.
No, it's all made up. He's just saying that. No.
Goes on to say
that
the
can't
book
be real.
That Sonny Hostin is referring to, Black Athena, is a book that is rejected by the whole of academia, even leftists. It's pseudoscience, pseudoscientific, and it's pure racism against Greek civilization. From what I understand about this writer and this book and its reception, I do think that this is an accurate statement. And one of the other things that I think is probably worth noting is that other writers discredited this book completely, but also it was...
Well, that's called like peer review, or like other fucking people taking your information that you're putting out there. But then this person, Christopher Nolan, took her entire book and based the movie on it?
Up and heralded by people who are very Afrocentric, people who believe that Africa has had its roots in basically every single thing that exists in either Western culture or basically any other culture. It's sort of where the we was Kangs thing comes from, except in this case it's we was Greeks. I don't want to get into the Afrocentrism thing in this video, but I do think that a lot of these people just fundamentally hate Europeans.
I haven't heard that in a bit,
I don't think it's any deeper than that. The other part of this view segment that I want to turn your eyeballs to that I found extremely irritating was when the only two white women on this panel attack the artistic rendering of Helen of Troy from around the 1800s, saying that this woman looks like Elvis and she's so ugly in comparison to Lupita.
Of Helen of... No, that's good.
That's beautiful.
Because
she means the other
I mean
one.
the most beautiful woman in the world. That was
the blonde lady.
Fictitious also.
Bro, you reverse the roles and it would be so fucking weird, man.
That just arguably, and beauty is subjective. I'd like you to prove to me
That's the finest there ever
that
was.
she can even hold a candle to Lupita Nyong'o is like the argument I want to hear.
She wasn't real.
If the roles were reversed, this would be so fucking weird. Look at her! Look at her afro hair! It's so dark and like curly. Look at this woman. Like, do you fucking hear yourself?
Yeah.
Well, she looks like Elvis. Let's start there.
Sorry, but
Yo, wait, I'm not gonna handle this Elvis slander either, dude.
could they have not
The
pulled a better
fuck?
picture to make his point?
Are we really doing this, ladies? Really?
This
You're
is
attacking
so
two
strange.
pieces of artwork from the 1800s when beauty standards were different, and also these are the personal renditions of that specific artist. Comparing these to a real-life human being to illustrate that this real-life human being is so much better looking? What are we doing here? If we are being honest,
I don't think
it
she's
is
ugly.
observable that Lupita is an attractive woman, and she's probably attractive to most people. Most people can go, yes, she's a pretty girl. But she is not in any way who Homer would have been thinking of when he wrote about Helen of Troy. And you know what? That's actually perfectly okay. Lupita is also clearly not who anyone else was thinking of when they depicted Helen over the millennia.
Helen of Troy was a white woman. How dare Christopher Nolan cast Lupita Nyong'o when Helen of Troy was white? It's ahistorical. Helen of Troy hatched from an egg. What exactly is a demigod who hatched from an egg supposed to look like anyway? Have you seen one? I haven't seen one.
But they just spout shit and they don't read anything. They regurgitate shit. Like the Redditor fucking fallacy, man. Dude, I vote too. You think it's just a retard? No, I think so too. I think this person's just an idiot. This is Redditor moment.
I mean, Helen of Troy could have been pooped on a rock, but it doesn't change her description as Greek from the Odyssey, you know?
And fair
this
skin.
situation, at least to me, resembles what was happening with Black Snape quite a lot. Snape was described in detail in Harry Potter. We know what Snape actually was supposed to look like.
Yes,
and he was still
sallow-skinned and a hook nose. I don't see no hook nose or sallow skin. I'm sorry. And it's so sad. I think they really did shaft this actor. They threw this guy under the bus. They really did. I think it's so unfair on him.
race swapped, and as a result, the actor himself has been criticized appearance-wise.
I think that's
to
so
no end.
stupid.
Here, people are now debating whether or not this woman is attractive or ugly or whatever. But
Again, maybe I'm just too empathetic, but I feel bad for the actors cast for these roles. I'm sorry, that's an unflattering pause.
I don't think that that actually matters here.
Damn. Okay. what was I saying? Oh yeah, I feel bad for these actors. Yeah, like you could say they signed up for it, and I agree with you, but at the end of the day, they're being cast for the roles for the wrong reasons. Like they're being cast because of their skin color for the woke points, as we saw with the actual criteria for getting an award for. And as such, their careers are going to be heavily criticized and heavily scrutinized, and it could and likely will affect their acting career for the rest of their freaking lives. Yet at the same time, I don't blame them for, like, you know, accepting the roles, because it's a huge break. Like, playing Helen in a Christopher Nolan movie about the Odyssey, like playing Snape in a Harry Potter remake. You'd be stupid. You would be a stupid, dumb bitch to turn those roles down. I just feel like it's setting them up for failure. They throw them under the bus.
The debate around her casting is whether or not it's wrong, which it is, as is basically every other race swap in this film. I didn't know where to put this, but I wanted to include it. I saw this funny post on Twitter where someone basically had said
they could have chosen any random Greek wither girl.
that you can pluck any random weather girl in Greece
pretty.
and she will be probably who Homer was thinking of when he wrote Helen of Troy, because they're that attractive.
Oh my god, bombastic!
I admit that I am quite fired up about this specific situation, and I think it's because there's just a pattern that is taking place here, and there's a thing that is happening over and over and over again, followed by the same kind of commentary that inevitably puts down European cultures, and I am sick of it. It wasn't too long ago that we had the unfortunateness of Netflix's Queen Cleopatra, which was their weird self-styled documentary series that cast a black actress as the Queen of Egypt. They included dialogue that repeatedly said that Cleopatra was black, and she wasn't at all. Her lineage was Greek Macedonian. Egyptians got understandably quite cross about this.
No, and then those Egyptians are very racisto.
Officials and archaeologists said that the show was a falsification of Egyptian history. And before that, we even had the BBC's and Netflix's actually 2018 Troy, Fall of a City, that featured black actors as Achilles and Zeus. Were either of these figures meant to be black? No. Does that matter to these bloody writers and directors and whomever? No. The worst part is when you say, hey, this is not accurate and these people wouldn't have looked this way, this is probably not great. Progressives inevitably scream at you and say, well, it's mythology, so why do you care anyway? It doesn't matter. But it actually does matter. No major production would recast figures from non-white mythologies as a different race. Such moves, as you all know, would be condemned as appropriation or any other type of sin.
This is the point I was making earlier. It's only okay to race swap characters from fictitious stories or mythologies if those mythologies are from culturally white or European places. It's painfully obvious. And literally everyone sees right through this charade. They've been doing it for over a decade at this point. It's the same tired playbook. Everyone is so sick of it. Like, and finally people are saying something about it. Imagine if they did mythology on Eastern European culture because it has a lot of overlap and they started putting African actors in it. That wouldn't make any fucking sense to me. It would be immersion breaking.
But European myths, the wellspring of Western art, literature, and identity, are used as these sort of weird equity experiments. And I saw this point that someone made online where they said that Greek and Egyptian and actually Roman history is pillaged by Hollywood and other institutions regularly because it's got so much in it, but they never actually represent the heritage of these places correctly, because particularly in the Greek and Roman cases, they're white adjacent and therefore they're not allowed to take place in their own cultural history, which is, I think, pretty true. Obviously, there are so many additional issues with this movie, and it isn't only about the race swapping, but the reason that we're talking about it is because this is a thing that everybody has jumped onto. I also really quickly too want to address the mythology argument that people love to make around these kind of conversations.
A demigod.
And it is quite challenging for me to explain succinctly, so bear with me, but I don't think that a character or a person rather has to be real for their appearance to be respected. And I think it's actually quite an
You can make the argument with mangas and stuff too, like anime.
argument to make
When they
that
finally
because
color
someone
them and
didn't exist
stuff.
in real life, but we have
It
a description
matters.
of them, or we know what culture they come from, then it's fine to kind of throw that away. I find that quite disrespectful, and I also think saying that mythology doesn't matter is quite a silly thing to say, because
I could also extrapolate, is that the word? Extrapolate the argument? Yeah, I would also make the argument that these people who do these race swaps don't fucking understand the source material, and it makes it even worse because it's seen as even more performative. For example, with Snape, they hang him from a tree upside down in the actual memories that Harry Potter perceives, because he's like, it's in the story, right? He sees his own dad hanging Snape upside down in a tree. And it's kind of weird when you think about it, if they would race swap him if he's black hanging from a tree. It's like, I don't think you thought this through, did you, sir? Oh, we'll have to cut it out. And then that makes it even more weird, because it's like you're taking literally, there's a part in the story where it's like, you have to know that for that to happen, for Harry Potter to gain sympathy for Snape before he dies. That's the whole part of the process where he goes through the motions of understanding the point of view.
mythology, and especially ancient mythology, was ingrained and entrenched in the lives of the people in those cultures. I don't know if this is making sense. Mythology and folklore informed so many things in our ancestors' societies, and they likely believed these things just as much as we believe so many things today, just because, you know, we have questions around the veracity of some of these things doesn't mean that it didn't matter to the people who came before. And so, yeah, I find it incredibly disrespectful to act like because we don't put as much stock in it, it didn't matter to them, and therefore it means nothing and it's moot generally. I don't know. I don't agree with that. So yeah,
It's like the fucking meme, like, oh, does this affect you? How does this bother you, bro?
know that a character or a person in a mythology was described a certain way, it's not hard to depict them in the way that they were described. And for the 5 millionth time, if you want to tell a story about an African person, either make a story about an African person or create a brand new story and cast an African person in a role in that story and give them their own unique situation and personality and whatever. Do not randomly insert people, be them trans or race swapped, into a thing that already exists and then
I've made this point 100 times already, but with video games, the exact same thing has happened on repeat 1,000 times in video game culture. You have a bunch of woke, liberal white women infesting game development studios and then co-opting existing franchises to push their stupid, retarded narrative that nobody wants, like God of War, Gears of War, Creed, Dragon Age. Like, I could go on. Countless franchises that existed before. Countless examples of co-opted franchises where retards try and make it woke instead of making their own video games. Or when they do, they'll blame the chuds when it fails. They always do this. They will never make their own franchises, be it movies or video games, or in any medium at all, because they know for a fact it's going to be unpopular, and then people are going to dislike it, and so they try and shove it down your throat by instead changing something you already love and enjoy. These people are unironically parasites, and they will burn every franchise you cherish to the ground and to try and spread their ideology, and it's all performative. They don't actually give a fuck.
Everybody else racist or transphobic when they have an issue with it. Anyway, I know I have done a lot of talking here, but I do want to leave you all with some sentiments that I read in an article that I found in the Greek City Times. In discussing the upcoming Odyssey film, this article says that not one prominent ethnic Greek actor was cast.
Interesting. Interesting. Not singular. Not one Greek American. Not one Greek, ethnically Greek actor.
Not one Greek American performer was cast, not even a symbolic acknowledgement of the culture from which this story originates took place.
Man, they really do be hating on Balkans out here, man. They really do.
This writes, that
Balkan
omission
slander,
is not
man.
merely ironic. It exposes the selective and performative nature of Hollywood's modern diversity framework. This article rightly goes on to point out the hypocrisy of Hollywood screaming that cultural ownership matters, except when it comes to Greeks and other European cultures whose histories it pillages while ignoring the Greeks entirely. And I think that really
That's
just hits
crazy.
the nail on the head when it comes to what we're seeing with Hollywood and Christopher Nolan and really a bunch of other projects that have taken place or probably will take place going forward, where Hollywood routinely demonstrates that it has no respect for the cultures that it is sucking dry. It doesn't respect romance.
That is not okay. That's sucking. Whoa.
Culture or Greek culture or
Slurping,
Scandinavian
glurping, dry.
culture. It respects none of them. Also, and quite tragically, I think that all of this demonstrates that it is so societally entrenched to act out that European cultures don't matter and they can be thrown to the wolves and disrespected as much as Hollywood likes, provided that it can just make a couple bucks. In the end, I am sure that we will talk about this film again. I am sure that things are about to get even stupider, and I'm sure that we will learn more things about it that will make us all quite cross.
I just
but like
don't get
I
it.
said at the end of my last video about this, all we
And
can
then they'll blame the chuds, the right wings, the right wingers. They'll be like, damn, these people were spreading all this bad shit about our movie. That's why nobody showed up to the movie theater. Yeah, you forget that not everybody's fucking chronically online. They might just be fucking garbage, bro. Maybe it's that.
do for the
Ever thought of
time
that?
being is wait and see what else crops up over time. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out Beam using the link in the description. I love Beam. You should love Beam. It is
Beam
one of the
these
best things
nuts.
I've ever taken as far as sleep goes, so absolutely check them out if this is something that you struggle with. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this issue where you think, what the hell is going on? What are we doing here? This is also silly and
propaganda.
unnecessary. Do you
Also, just not including any Greeks. Not even one actor? Like, not even for the lead role? Not even a supporting actor? That would make me feel so insulted if I was like a Greek actor.
you agree with Sunny and the other women?
not even Greek,
of
I'd
the
feel
view
insulted.
That, you know, this casting is great and that actually blacks had a lot to do, Africans I should say, had a lot to do with Greece and how Greece turned out. What do you think of Black Athena as a book? Do you think that it's great and it's wonderful to have an alternate perspective, or do you think that it's probably anti-European propaganda? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here, you're not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. Of course, my little chickadee people, as I always say, I hope you stay safe and well and make good choices, because they are important.
I don't know about that. I'm a VTuber. I already made the wrong choice. They can suck my gyros. My heroes. I do love me some good heroes. Gyros. Oh man. Gyro. Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. It's all so tiresome. I need a gyro. Ba 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 ba. Yep. I hate that they traditionally use Russians as villains because of the Cold War. Well, yeah, I mean, that's like really classic American propaganda. It is what it is. China does that too, by the way, just for the record. It's quite funny. If you watch Chinese movies about the war, they will make out the Americans to be badass villains. What I think is you should be the villain. You should be the villain that those people fucking perceive you as, man. Yeah, they always portray them as like these badasses, these hard asses. It's like, you just gotta be the badass you gotta be. English villains, yeah, that too. Go check out Miss Sydney. That was a good one. That was a good little yap sesh.
Oh, yeah.